Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. But today we are united with Jason Trent of Jaguars United, our favorite Trevor Lawrence hater of all. But we thought this would be safer territory since we're going to ask questions about running backs. Obviously, we're still joking about the Trevor hater thing. It's just not going to go away, Jason. I'm sorry.
Listen, I got a whole list of things I hate. I'm glad that you're only cherry picking one because we could do a whole show on the things I hate.
Okay, well, listen, that could be a weekly segment. Be careful. Anyway.
I do appreciate you boys having me on. Thank you.
No, absolutely. It's been entirely too long. And yeah, man, thank you for stepping in. And for sure, it's a fun time. I know both of you have been at least in the general vicinity of OTAs and all of that, while I am suffering a severe bout of FOMO, which, of course, Travis has been helping out with on the Duval Dive YouTube channel with his coverage directly and all of this. But, Jason, let's go ahead and do it now. For those that haven't caught Wednesday's edition of the Duval Dive, of the weekly live stream, I know we do others, but still, Wednesday's the feature one, whatever. Yeah. We talked a lot about the running back room in general. And I think it's been dubbed, I'm going to go with Travis's wording, the first down run problem for the Jags and trying to capture that. Now, obviously, you know enough ball. We've seen it on Jaguars United, whether you're talking to Travis or other friends of the show, such as Jordan DeLugo, Generation Jaguar, all of that. It's clear that they upgraded themselves to actually get tougher the way that Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke, Littlefinger, wait, I had it right the first time, actually promised while they were here. So I just wanted to see your thoughts on that development and that movement. And do you see the Jags attempting to run the ball more, even though they have all the receivers that they do?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Borkature draft pick, it was a clear sign that they were making an effort to run the ball better. Liam Coen talked about, we all know, he talked about how the weak link, for lack of better words, was the run game. And not being able to run the ball in that playoff game there on that 4th and short, what might have been the biggest part of the game, like, honestly.
I had to say there because our commenters, our divers here have been dropping that pretty much weekly if we even loosely mention it. But go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you look at that and when you look at what they did to shore up the run game, you obviously can look at the tight ends where it looks like every tight end looks exactly the same. It's even hard to tell them apart if you can't see their number, with the exception of Quentin Morris. And then you look at what they did with the offensive line, bringing in Manuel Pregnon and obviously signing Cole Van Lannon, not trading Walker Little, which gives you some solid depth on the offensive line. And if there's a position in the NFL that you want depth, it's the offensive line because you got 5 guys. And so I think we have good depth there now. I think that we upgraded the D gap with the tight ends and their ability to maybe cross block or to pull in those type of situations. I saw in minicamp them working a lot of run plays that I didn't see last season. So that was encouraging. Some quick pitches out to the edge and things like that. So if we're looking outside of just running backs, I think everything outside of running backs in the run game, they did a really good job upgrading, in my opinion.
So, and I like that you cited they addressed to the interior line as well, because if Patrick McCarry is truly defeated by Father Time, there are options there with Wyatt Milam and Pregnon and all of that. But I mean, Travis, I know we've talked about it at length, but it's interesting, and it came up on Wednesday in the comments as well. But running on first down is something where the Jags have basically struggled this past season. And, doing better on first down leads to better second and third. The long-term implications of that improvement would be nice, to say the least.
It's weird, man, because, like when you look at the 2025 film, like we often talk about Travis Etienne's early down run inefficiencies, limitations, whatever you want to categorize them as. Like the issue that the team had was early down running the ball. And he wasn't the only running back in Jacksonville to struggle doing that, though. Like we often just say Travis Etienne, he struggles with it, and it's an easier conversation to say that. what's more complicated or more difficult is now the core for all of those guys. Like it was actually a issue for all of those guys was like similar to many NFL teams, just having an unsuccessful first down rushes. That's your starting running back, so he's going to get the brunt of that. But they were really bad running the ball first downs, which didn't force them to be behind the sticks all the time, forced them into a lot of unfavorable situations, obvious passing downs and back-to-back snaps. And that just made it for some rough things to kind of overcome on second and third down. Like, shout out to bootleg football. I know you folks don't want to put bad things into the atmosphere. It's positive, the positive time of year. But they did have a small like graphic that was talking about the Seattle football game from last season, and this image talking about the second down run race was one of those things that was mentioned. Basically, when the Jaguars had no gain or loss, or if they gained 3 yards or less, they basically were around 29% running on second down, depending on what they did on first down. If that makes any kind of sense. So whether you had no gain or just anything less than 3 yards, you basically were running the ball about a little less than 30% of the time on second down. And if they were able to gain 7 to 9 yards on first down, then they were running the ball about 70% of the time on second down. Like, so this is putting you into positive situations for the most part. Staying on schedule was and kind of is the key for this Jacksonville Jaguars offense. And when they got off schedule, it forced Lawrence to play a lot of hero balls, which worked well sometimes, and other times not so much. It was kind of hit and miss.
I mean, that's where you got some of the biggest catches of the year by Travis Hunter for sure.
For the first half of the season, sure. Like, but that's like the Buffalo game. Is they got off? You force him to put the game on his shoulder, and that's when it can work out well sometimes, but it can work out terribly sometimes. But it's more volatile. You need more efficiency. And that means you need to be better running the ball on first down. And again, that's not just him. That's all of those guys. And it wasn't just Travis Etienne. It was Bashaw too. And it was all the running backs. So these were the other numbers I just wanted to point out. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars first 7 weeks of the season. I told Preston we were going to get him these numbers on Wednesday's episode. We made sure to get him these numbers. First 7 weeks of the season, Jaguars were 6th in rushing EPA, and they were 4th in success rate in running the ball. Efficient, consistent, moving the chains, and it's what helped them like have in the toughest part of their schedule be a dominant team, winning a lot of games that folks didn't think they were going to win. Being honest, last 9 weeks, even though they had a passing game that was on fire, 22nd in the league in rushing EPA, 21st in the league in rush success rate. Two different things that fell off a cliff. Like those don't even look like the same team. And just looking at that, and based on what you've already watched from the film, Jason, like where do you like how do you feel just looking at that? Because they won so many games in the second half of the season, but the numbers say they probably shouldn't, if that makes any kind of sense.
Well, a couple of things stand out, and I'd like to kind of get y'all's opinion on this because I don't have hard numbers for this, but
sure.
And maybe these statistics are spurious. Maybe they don't correlate. I don't know. Okay. But what happened after week 7? Britton Strange got injured. Patrick McCarry got injured, right? Sure. What else happened after week 7? You noticed a sharp increase in the screen game and the pass game on first down. Like I found myself on first down being like, wow, we're throwing the ball a lot on first down, even with quick hitters, in an attempt to pick up that short yardage to get ahead of the sticks rather than running it. Now, maybe that was a case of the coaches not being confident that they could run the ball. Maybe that was a case of the coaches wanting to throw the ball against a base package, because we all know defenses roll out their base packages typically on first down. And when you don't feel confident in your 12 and 13 personnel to where you can run the ball against other teams' base packages, that kind of defaults you to running these quick screens, these quick hitters and things like that. So I think those stats were very good. And I think that's what led the Jaguars to make the moves that they did by bringing in the extra beef on the interior, by signing, not trading Walker Little, I think is just as big of a deal as signing a guy, right? Because you could have traded Walker Little for maybe a 4th or 5th round pick. And so I think that really kind of shows that they wanted depth on the offensive line. Walker Little can play inside if he needs to.
Sure.
You got Milam, you got Pregnon now. You got these guys that can kind of move inside. In addition, you brought tight ends where now you can run the ball on first down. And so I would just question, do you think the Jags kind of hamstrung themselves with their personnel to where they had to kind of make modifications on first down where they didn't even try to run as much as they probably should have because of their unconfidence in their 12 personnel.
Well, I think that
Go ahead.
no. Go ahead, Nash.
Yeah, because you look like you're trying to ponder it a little more. And I mean, listen,
Okay.
I'll bring in the part that's for dinner into this conversation. I think a lot of it is offensive line things not panning exactly the way they'd like to, right? You mentioned Makari missing, and that was probably the biggest disappointment for all the offensive line adjustments they made, Jason. That was clearly the most disappointing one, right? You may say, oh, but Kyle, what about Fred Johnson? Hey, at least they got something back for him. You know, with Makari, he was, considering how high he was supposed to be in this, I think he was the most disappointing as the season went on. Plus, you keep pointing out that they haven't moved Walker Little. With respect, I think that has more to do with Cole Van Lanen's current health situation than it does his capacity as a tackle. But I do agree with you, and I compared him to Jimmy Garoppolo before for the quarterback in the 49ers, where they made the move that they did to eventually get beat by Patrick Mahomes II in the Super Bowl, right? And that was, you know, dudes got hurt, Garoppolo got his opportunity to come in, right? And because Cole Van Lanen might be hurt, Walker's still available at left tackle. But I agree that, albeit expensive, he is good depth for the guard position as well. And
I'll just jump before Travis. I just want to get this out there before we move on too far from Makari. I have him circled as one of my comeback players of the year next year. I'm a big believer in Makari. Watching him today, obviously, besides the antics of getting the crowd pumped up that I know Travis saw, I was watching like where I was sitting. I was sitting right in front of the Indy period of the offensive line, and Makari and Anton Harrison were the two most violent, explosive players out of the entire group that was out there. And from the things I was hearing from the inside, Makari was trying to Iron Man, Superman through a back injury last year.
That he was.
And in reality, like, I think he's a guy that, if healthy, and again, that's a big if, he could, you could get hurt again, but if healthy, I think Makari is a guy that we're kind of shipping out a little too early, similarly to Antonio Johnson, Devin Lloyd, that type of situation. I think Makari is in that same conversation where let this guy be healthy, let this guy play. And now you're looking at Makari as a guy that's actually solid. And with the tandem of Anton Harrison, that right side is actually really good potentially.
Yeah, it's never that I dislike Makari as a player. I just know that Father Time is an a-hole. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah.
Well, again, I'm not going to judge offensive linemen too harshly, or even defensive linemen too harshly when they're out there playing in underwear and helmets. So for the most part, I will point that out, but I will also say that Brian Thomas Jr.'s dominant catch that he had on Tuesday over Christian Broswell when he high pointed the ball. If you haven't seen it, go back on Jaguars.com or any of the Jaguar socials, and you'll see that's when he climbs the ladder and takes it basically off of Christian Broswell's helmet. That play would have been a sack by Eric Armstead against Patrick Makari. Most people probably didn't notice that, but that was him being beat, and I'm just like, that didn't feel good, but also I'm not going to hold it against you, but I will notice it when I'm just going to keep tallying these things up until we get to the end of the offseason, and we're going to see kind of where it all lies. But that was something that was notable to me recently.
And BTJ knew he couldn't get hit.
Oh, geez. I mean, that is also true, but that's why I've always said from the start is we will wait and see what happens when pads go on, but it does look very much different than what we saw in last year's OTAs, last year's offseason. Even without the pads, that does look better right now from Brian Thomas Jr. So across the board, I'm going there. And what we were talking about is a moment ago, just discussing the fall off after the bye week, the fall off after the Britton Strange injury, and after the injuries to what was the Patrick Makari? Basically,
and others.
That's when you started throwing the ball a lot more to the running backs to that point, and you started even scrambling a lot more with your quarterback because they couldn't do as much in the run game. They knew they would have to pick up those yards, basically extended runs, quick balls to the running backs, and that's fine. But that's also probably why you got rid of Travis Etienne, is because if you can't run the ball at this point, then I'm not paying the guy that kind of money to still be that inefficient at running the ball. And it showed itself on the first downs in the game. Like it showed itself. Again, this is just first down running that we're looking at right now. Travis Etienne last season was 24th in the NFL in yards per carry, with 4.66 yards with 15 carries of 10 plus yards, including a 71-yard run. Now, I only mentioned the long because the long matters. That basically Travis Etienne would have ranked 29th in the NFL last year without that 71-yard run included in those numbers. That matters because at the same time, Chris Rodriguez in that bad Washington Commanders offense with a backup quarterback was 30th in the NFL.
Missing their top receiver for a large portion of the year,
If this guy in this bad, terrible offense with the backup quarterback and Marcus Mariota running an offense can be 30th in the NFL doing it with an injured offensive line, and you're basically 29th on every run, but on 156 of your runs throughout the season, this for me tells me very clearly maybe you are a great buy low candidate, Chris Rodriguez, that of a guy who you're more likely than not going to be the floor of what we wanted Travis Etienne to be in this offense. And maybe with a better offensive line and an actual, Trevor Lawrence starting at quarterback, you can be a much higher, candidate as far as like what you're going to be able to put on film. Bayshaw Tootin is the one that I got questions on. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all about that, because him landing at 32nd in the exact same offense that Travis Etienne did lets you know that, yes, it was an offensive line problem, to Preston's point from Wednesday's podcast, but also it was also a running back point that these guys weren't breaking those tackles, something that we all complained about with Bayshaw Tootin last season. He just kept getting tripped up with his one when they could have been explosive, but he just couldn't break them, and that was a problem. And it's got to be addressed hopefully this season.
Jason, you don't look impressed with that point.
I don't. I'm not.
Talk to me.
And here's what's going, and I could be off base here.
Why would you stop now? I'm kidding.
I just feel like I get that's the point of the show, the first down run stats. I think the first down run and that being an integral part of your offense and your offense getting ahead of the sticks, I think that may potentially be like an archaic talking point that these future NFL, it doesn't really matter, And again, I look back to last year. I don't have the stats in front of me. It's anecdotal, whatever that's worth. But I found myself a ton of times thinking, okay, Jags are throwing again on first down. And being like, oh man, I kind of wish they'd run here. Again, I'm an old head. Let's get ahead of the sticks. But yeah, Liam Coen's not, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, if he can get himself he goes and trips right bunch, he throws a bubble screen to one of these big boys, and then he gets upfield and gets 4 yards. That's as good as a first down run for 4 yards, And so I just wonder if that strategy of running the ball on first down, getting ahead of the sticks, is kind of going to become a thing of the past with the way the NFL offenses are becoming. And especially when you have a team with the makeup like the Jaguars, where you put the ball in some of these guys' hands and they can make a defender miss. And I don't know and to your point, I don't know if Bayshaw Tootin's that guy, but Travis Hunter maybe, and Parker Washington maybe, and Hines-Allen maybe. And so maybe it's a different way of achieving that same result rather than running between the tackles and picking up 4 yards when teams are building their defenses to stop that. It would be my only pushback and thought and consideration.
The phenomenon you're speaking of, though, is the extended handoff. Listen, as the offensive lineman in the room, I will tell you, I treat a screen just like a run. The only difference is I'm running a little more to get out there. This is a running play. And I know it goes in the record book as a pass, but let's be honest, right? Tom Brady gets a butt ton of percentage and completion his early years by throwing a butt ton of bubble screens with a run game that was absolutely underrated because it was seen as a screen game. Well, it is a screen game. It was seen as a passing game. It was an elongated handoff. Let's be clear. Sure. And that phenomenon is what you're describing. We've mentioned that here on the show during the season last year when that was a thing. And yet somehow or another, De'Ami Brown never got all that involved in it. But anyways,
you didn't have to bring him up. That was mean.
But they threw the screen game out of the playbook because the offensive line struggled at doing it, and the quarterback got a lot of them knocked down for some weird reason. I still don't know exactly why. But I don't think the point that you're necessarily making, Jason, conflicts with the point that I'm making. I actually think they both can be true at the same time.
Yes.
Because what you're saying is, no, you don't have to run into a box on first down, or you don't even have to run the ball at all on first down, which if you have the right passing game, I actually do agree with. Yeah, you can give yourself 3 bites at the apples to use this great intermediate passing game to pick up first downs. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But if you are running the ball on first down, you need to be successful. That's basically where I'm landing on it. If you're going to run the ball on first down, it needs to be 3+ yards. If you can't consistently give me that, then you're basically just burning it down like Trent Baalke drafting somebody in the second, third round. That's the conversation basically where I'm kind of landing on it.
So you don't think that because Cole Van Lanen wasn't a starter in the first 7 weeks, and Nate Borkacher wasn't on the team the first 7 weeks, and you don't think, and Chris Rodriguez wasn't on the team the first 7 weeks of last year, and that's when we succeeded. Don't you think this team is actually better now than it was last year, built to run the ball on first down?
No.
I think we're skipping some things here, though. That part of the schedule too lend itself to people getting run all over. Okay, the Bengals weren't stopping anybody on the ground. I think that's just as an example, right? And later on, see, here's the thing, and I think there's one thing we're missing clearly, and I do love the point you make about the tight end core being upgraded, because that screen game will too get augmented because dudes that run on there and block the bejesus out of the people help. But something else that we've observed on this show, and specifically Travis has worded better than I have, is the way this team self-scouts. I think we need to be careful about trends and other things, because when you look at the other side of the ball, I think that dictates a lot of the decisions that Liam Coen makes in calling plays than anything else, really, right? We went pass heavy. Can't help but notice, I say we, the Jags went pass heavy. I can't help but notice that this happened in a stretch that involved an NFL football team that has fewer interceptions in the past season than the Orlando Storm did in the UFL. That's all I'm saying, guys.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
But back to the question. Do you think this team now is built better for running the ball on first down than it was last year?
I think so.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know. And I'm okay saying the word I don't know, even though I work a job where I'm supposed to quote unquote know it all. And I'm just fine saying, nah, bro, I don't know. They've drafted a lot of guys on traits, and they're leaning on their skills as coaches to develop these guys and show more than what they showed in college. So because of that, I don't know. I haven't seen them in pads. I've seen these guys in underwear. And right now, we just had a whole conversation talking about like guys like coming back, like Patrick McCarry. And I'm just like, yeah, but he didn't look great the other day in that one play. So I don't know what I'm looking at just yet as far as running the ball.
That's not a run play.
I mean, to this question, to this point, we had people talking about Bayshaw Tootin turning heads at mini camp, and he's looking so good.
I saw that.
Me and Demetrius had a 10-minute conversation talking about this on the field on Wednesday's mini camp, and because we were like laughing about it, like, dude, what are you talking about? And that's no shade at John Shipley. This is not about John Shipley. It's about the fantasy football accounts and all the fans who talk about this, because they're like, yeah, Tootin's. I'm like, what has Tootin done? They're like, nothing. Well, honestly,
to be fair, after they blew the whistle and everyone else stopped, he did leave them in the dust when he finished the play running to the end zone. To be fair, he was leaving them in the dust after the whistle was blown.
Oh my God. I'm just saying the defense is not tackling. The offense is not, the O-line, they're not full out blocking right now. Like, yes, basically all we talking about, the fast guy is fast. We knew he was fast when he was drafted.
Yeah.
Cool.
He looks fast. You're right.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean,
zone, please. Jesus.
Travis has been to more than I have. I went to Wednesday. I did notice that the running plays they ran, and to be fair, Liam Coen said that they were focusing more on passing plays. In this portion, and they're going to focus more on running plays in later. So he didn't mention that. And a lot of the plays, the defense knew it was a pass play or run play most of the time. So you have to. You've all played. You know the difference when you're a defensive player and you know if it's a run or pass. It completely changes the entire dynamic. But I did notice that the run plays weren't as successful as I would have loved as far as the gaps being open. But what you're not thinking about is the potential of moving Zach Durfee to fullback. I mean, why are we not talking about that? Getting big Zach Durfee back there in the backfield, hand in the dirt, fighting, blocking the first opposite jersey he sees.
What?
I was not expecting a Durfee reference on this podcast.
Not.
Let me check the bingo card.
I was not ready for the injury-prone college prospect who's
Project X.
The only reason that he's prospect X in this NFL cycle is because of his injury history. I was not ready for that guy to be talking about being put at fullback. Nah, bro.
I'm not saying you're having a Snickers moment. You're just being mean.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
That is a wild landing point, brother. You did a tuck twist on that bad boy. Congratulations. Yeah. So speaking of injuries, as we discussed on Wednesday, Chris Rodriguez, he hasn't practiced today. Coach Coen already noted that that they expect him to be full go by training camp. They haven't actually given us the exact time, specifics surrounding what the injury is, though we do have all the rumors and all the reporting that went into the fact that there was a procedure done. It seemed to be a lower leg injury. Again, he's supposed to be good by training camp.
It was a foot, right?
Foot.
It was a foot.
You said it. Yes, that's what it sounds like it is.
Alleged as a foot. How about that? There we go.
Yeah.
Sure. Good. I'm trying to keep my credentials, bro. So
whatever
it is, that injury situation is going to be something that we're going to keep an eye on going heading into training camp. But in the meantime, that's where we are with that. And because of that injury situation still lingering out there, we haven't actually seen the top free agent for the Jaguars right now play on the field when we're talking about everybody else. We know he has the mental side of it because he understands the language and everything else. We talked to Coach Coen about that after practice on Wednesday. The communication and the concepts are all kind of the same as what he was running in Kentucky, so he should have picked that up. But on the physical side of things, how do you personally feel about this room when you haven't seen the guy physically play on the grass all offseason and you're going to be depending on him week one?
I've seen the guy play. I watched all of his snaps from last year in Washington. I've seen the guy play. All your worries about not getting 3 yards, you shouldn't have them if you watch Chris Rodriguez last year at Washington. That dude never went for less than 3 yards. That dude could have got tackled at the line of scrimmage and he's getting 3 yards. He's one of the most violent downhill runners, does not get tackled at the line of scrimmage running backs I've seen in a long time. Do I think he's going to change the offense? I don't know. But after watching every single snap that he took for Washington last year, I would vouch for him for being the guy that eases your worries about those first down run problems, not picking up 3 yards.
Well, and I got to address, is he the guy that's going to solve your problems? No, but Jason, I don't think they're trying to do that, right? We've all seen Moneyball. They're trying to fix the running problem in the aggregate. This is why they drafted the way they did, said, F your consensus board. We have only a few picks, so we can't F them picks this year. But yeah, F your board. We're going to do it. We're going to go full. This was a Sinatra draft. We did it our way, right? That's their approach. Okay. That's the whole thing. And I think C-Rod is just one piece of that. And listen, why I may not have watched all the Washington snaps, I did see the role he played in winning the Citrus Bowl against Iowa, if I remember correctly. He was the main running force in that game. Now, granted, the quarterback was a dude that puts mayonnaise in his coffee or whatever it was, and Wendell Robinson at receiver. But he won that game running the ball the way you talked about, even then as a Ute, so to speak. So I just want to shout that.
He did it in the NFL. I mean, I know, Travis, you have your doubts about not seeing it with the Jags, but we saw it in the NFL. It's not like he's a rookie that we just drafted. I mean, the guy's done it, and
you're right.
And he's a violent runner, opposite of anything we have on this team. It's what Tootin should be, hopefully will be. But this dude is a violent runner, and he comes downhill. He even has a little jump cut that he, for a guy his size, you'd be surprised he has. But he pulls it out sometimes, and it'll make you kind of scratch your head a bit that a guy that big can do a little jump cut. but he made some guys miss in the gap, in the A gap, in the B gap, not on the edge. And I mean, he's got a skill set that this team desperately needed. And as long as we can keep his snap count to what it was in Washington, I'm confident that he will give us what he did in Washington.
So that's interesting because honestly, as much as I have my doubts, you may have missed when the teams initially signed him. And I'm going to go with 5 games. I don't think it was a whole season worth of games, but it was like 5 games. And I believe it was like the last 3 games that he had an opportunity to start, something along those lines. And I walked away saying, oh no, this is going to be a good signing. I walked away being confident in it. And then the offseason happened when you find out that there's an offseason injury. And then you see, oh, wait, he's not been able to train the way that he would normally train in an offseason to come back, be ready to go. Like, I got questions on that, how if he's going to be in football shape versus just being able to make the field kind of shape. It's what we talked about on Wednesday's Duval Dive, talking about the Eric Armstead scenario or the old Gabe Davis scenario and things of that nature and when it's medical, I'm always going to be a coin flip at that point, and that's where I get a little bit cautious, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, Coen talked about it in his press conference on Tuesday that Chris Rodriguez, out of the guys that are not practicing now, he's the most confident that he will be back the quickest in July out of all the players. So, I mean, he said he's not a doctor, right? But like he definitely talks to the athletic trainer, the team doctor more than we do. Right. And so if he's more confident in him coming back the quickest, I mean, that gives me a little bit of hope. I understand your concern. I'm excited to see what Chris Rodriguez looks like. And again, the contingency being, I like him being at that same snap count he was in Washington, which I think
don't give him more because So if they wanted to lean on him 60%, 65% of the snaps, you would not be a fan of that, even if he was successsical.
Well, I think he was successful for that to happen, I would assume.
I think he was successful in the role that he played in Washington, which is ironically the role that this whole conversation is talking about, is picking up that against base package early down 3 to 4 yards.
Being what Tank Bigsby was supposed to. I'm just saying it again so everybody's clear my opinion on that.
No, I thought, and I still kind of think, again, assuming health, that Chris Rodriguez is a very good, like for fantasy football purposes, and also just from a real football conversation purposes, a nice veteran buy low candidate, similar to that 2025 crop with Dennis Gardeck, Eric Murray, Dyami Brown, Fred Johnson, and others. No. Believe me, when I tell you, when I name these guys, you don't take it as shade. All I'm saying is these guys were dart throws, low cost. Hey, we're going to see what happens with this. And half of those guys worked out and half of them didn't. Like 2 of them worked out. Dennis Gardeck, Eric Murray, great. Dyami Brown, Fred Johnson did not work out. And that's okay. But all I'm saying is I'm looking at him being a dart throw, but he obviously knows the system. He knows the language. He has a history with the coach. So that helps his chances of success. They have proof of concept there. I'm with it. It's just the injury situation. But if you're good with that, and he feels pretty safe to be paired with Bashaw Tutin early on. And I think it's Tutin's sort of job to lose, whereas it's Rodriguez's job to steal. Is that a fair landing point?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, do we pose the question now? Because you already opened the gate. Who you think going to be the starting running back, Tutin or Chris? I say Chris because of history with Liam. That's what Shadow Blades has here. That's a discourse comment. It looks
it was actually a live episode comment, and I had to find a way to snip it. So that was the way.
Oh yeah, you did this whole background thing instead of the other one, so I can't tell the difference. This is why I need to flip it back here. And anyways, that's a producer's problem. But yeah, okay. So you're in a different space then, Jason. Is what I heard you say.
Listen, I think I go back to the run the ball on first down. I think we're kind of stuck in this archaic mindset of what running backs are. I don't think there's a starter anymore. I think there's a situational running back. Look, Quinn Allen's not a starter, but he is a third down running back starter. We wouldn't call him a starter, but on third downs, Quinn Allen's coming in most situations.
Sure. I guess if you look at like the old Thunder and Lightning with Detroit Lions, like Sonic and Knuckles, what was it?
No, again,
well, those are 2 guys
into these archaic It's not like
Well,
that anymore.
That's two starting running backs at that point. Why is that archaic? I thought that was the example. You have a quick good Gibbs, and you had at the time I guess Montgomery, and they both started they both would play the first snap of the game, but technically both of them are starters. They're 1A, 1B.
Sure, and maybe that's good. And the only reason why I push back a bit is because even in that situation with Gibbs and Montgomery, you kind of had the hot hand theory. Who had the hot hand? Like who was running good, right? And I don't think. Sure, Liam Cohen's going to go to the hot hand, like obviously, but I think more so than that, it's like, okay, what situation are we in? Or are we in a situation where we need a running back to pick up 2 yards? Chris Rodriguez is in. Okay, are we in a situation where we are in 1st and 10? We're coming out in 10 gun 2x2. It's first down. Defense doesn't know what we're doing. We're putting Bayshaw Tootin out there because he's kind of more versatile. Are we in a situation where it's 3rd and 15 and we need a running back to pick up the run block and potentially pick up the pass block and leak out for a pass? It's Hines-Allen. So I think it's more situational now than it's ever been. I look at the copycat league that it is. I think all these coaches are copying Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, and that's what they are doing. So rather than who's the starter, who's the backup, it's what situation are we in and who's doing that the best.
Well, if you're looking at the Sean McVay this time, then C-Rob is nothing but Blake Corum. Like that's not the greatest comparison. Like if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan and you're looking for Chris Rodriguez to do all these great things,
I don't think that's accurate because Blake Corum was a rookie, a second-year guy with no experience in the NFL who was supposed to be the power back, never showed it. Chris Rodriguez has showed it, and he's shown it.
See, that's where we disagree. Blake Corum has absolutely showed it in nearly every stat, and I'll have to grab the stats for you because I, in looking up the stats, for this project, Blake Corum was at the top of almost all of these. Like if you're looking at the metrics,
you see how he just baited you to come on his show so you could prove him wrong now, right?
I didn't even know he was going to bring this up. So this is just something that was just it was notable in my mind. And I'm like,
go ahead. Go. So who was the starter in front of Blake Corum?
Yeah, Kyron Williams.
So for your analogy to work, Bayshaw Tootin has to be equal than Kyron Williams. Would you agree with that?
Bayshaw Tootin's going to have to play somewhat to that level to make this work out as far as having an adequate run game, I would say, yes.
But do you think that's going to happen?
I think the Jags are banking on it to an extent because they are expecting him to.
Are they though?
Well, if they were, I think. Or let me rephrase. If they weren't, they would have gotten another guy of that type.
That's where I do agree with your actions speak much louder than your words. And if you didn't grab another guy, then you have to be banking on some level.
And let's be clear. They did the same thing with Devin Lloyd already. They're going to do the same thing again with Ventrell Miller. There is precedent for expecting guys in an offense for the first time. Granted, Robert Hainsey doesn't count because he was in this offense in the past, right? But dudes that were younger guys stepping up and getting better, right? That's a thing that happened throughout the roster. I don't think it's fair to point out Travis Hunter, but he was one who did it. Granted, he was a rookie rather than finishing a rookie season. But I'm willing to bet they expect him to do more too. I'm willing to bet they expect more of Bayshaw Tootin, Wyatt Milam, and a lot of the young linemen too. There's a lot of youth they're relying on here. A, because they're still trying to forgive the fiscal sins of Trent Baalke, and B, that's just the trend that we've kind of seen happen in certain places. By the way, I think Caleb Bransaw falls into this category, even though he was hurt last year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
And I actually do agree with you that C-Rob is probably going to have that larger early down and short yardage role. I think we're actually in general agreement on that piece of it. I just kind of view it more like the 2024 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the whole Rashad White, Bucky Irving scenario. I view it just a little bit closer to that in this case with C-Rod playing more of that role of White. And it was a little bit flipped with Tampa Bay, obviously, just who the incumbent already was at that time. But I think they wanted to be a kind of a timeshare early, like it was in Tampa Bay, and kind of see where injuries and production kind of make them adjust that plan. And that's kind of where I just feel like it's going to end up landing.
And here's another point I want to bring up. Like you mentioned the running early being archaic. I think we're even over and above asking the question wrong altogether again, right? And I'm going back to the self-scouting concept and letting the opponent across the yard determine this, right? Like we have all the different starting opportunities for the guys in the board here, right? Bashal Toot and Chris Rodriguez. I don't think anybody thinks Hines-Allen's starting, but we mentioned he's going to be the top third down back. That makes sense.
Mhm.
And DJ Dallas, fighting for a roster spot. And, the same for Jamari Taylor, but I feel like he's got a lot of hype on his side right now for sure. But I'm going to say this. This is how important the self-scouting aspect is, right? Week 1, if I remember correctly, is Cleveland, right?
Yep.
Who I think's the starter for that game has automatically changed. Now that Myles Garrett isn't there anymore, and it's instead
Jared Verse.
Jared
Verse. How could I forget? Travis wanted to draft him so bad. Jared Verse on the outside.
That's smart.
Because their focus and better pass rush is on the outside now. They may start C-Rod in this game if healthy. Whereas previously, you saw Mbashaw because you're trying to get outside.
I noticed that my boy Amir Abdullah was conveniently left off that list that you just showed.
I mean, I'm sorry. I got a limited amount of space. We're gonna say character limitations. We're gonna put it on there.
Coen said that he was very impressed with Amir Abdullah's in the pass game. He said that, and he said he likes that veteran presence. There's not a lot of you called Chris Rodriguez a veteran, which I think maybe not really, but there's no veteran out there, and maybe Amir, is a guy that at least done it for a while.
Jarvis Landry was a veteran. Cool. For Ricky Minicamp, was that last season? Oh, the season before last. That means it's such a low bar. It's such a low bar.
Kind of tongue in cheek. But I mean, if it's between Amir Abdullah, DJ Dallas, and Jamari Taylor, are you really gonna have a strong opinion about that?
What I kind of do. And that's the funny part about it, because Jamari Taylor is the one where I'm like, I don't know where this dude's gonna land, and I'm okay saying this. Like, he can either be fighting for a roster spot, or he can be a dark horse candidate that's fighting for anywhere all the way up to your RB1-2. Radius, who was on the show advising us with our London acclamation. He's our UK Duval Dive advisor.
Duval Dive UK correspondent. That's right.
Yes. He tells us everything that's happening over there in London. Shout out to him. 5 hours 5 hours from our time zone right now. Kind of talking about, is it Jamari Taylor's season, with one of the commenters over on Blue Sky, Thick Vermeil?
Think, like the old Rams coach.
Oh, wow.
It's sharper than you thought, dude.
Okay, can we put it into how many carries do you over under one carry? How many regular season carries?
Jamari Taylor
over
for the Jags.
Oh, I'll give him one. I'll give him over under. I'll say over. I'll take that over. Mm-hmm. I will, because I truly believe he's a dark horse candidate to either be anywhere up from the RB1, RB2, we'll call it, to not being on the roster at all, because I just haven't seen him, and I'm only doing this based on projections from what I saw on the college tape. And actually, on the college tape, I thought he could have been drafted as high as the late 4th round, early 5th round. I was on the Prime Sports podcast when they were talking about their draft coverage before the draft, and we had that conversation, and Jamari came up in that podcast, and we just re-referenced it when I was on their pod last week, and we just continued talking about it. He could have been a draftable prospect. Running backs went late in this draft. I actually thought he was really solid as far as his vision. He's a lot like that old school Le'Veon Bell, where he's not coming to a complete stop in the backfield, but he's kind of his vision is really good like that. It's not.
He's got that hesitation stuff.
Yeah, that hesitation. He finds the hole and he hits it, and he just gets the yards that you're kind of scheming up from that way. A lot like the free agents that we were talking about on Wednesday's pod. So from that perspective, I actually do say I see what he could bring to this team, but he's just not very fast. He's a lot like Hines-Allen as far as his actual speed. Again, a lot like Le'Veon Bell, not fast. He just kind of gets the job done. Where I can see a lot of ways that could go depending on what happens on the grass, and that's kind of why I'm not objectively cutting him out automatically, if that makes sense.
I think, heaven forbid, there's an injury to the running back room. DJ Dallas and Amir Abdullah are much higher candidates to get elevated to the 53 than Jamari Taylor is.
Okay. So
Okay.
not only
Okay.
is he a Trevor Lawrence hater, apparently
Not a Trevor Lawrence hater.
Listen.
I said I needed to see more, and he showed more.
Okay. Okay.
And maybe it's the same thing as Jamar Taylor. I need to see more. I need to see him. I mean, we're
You need
making
to see
all of
something.
these assumptions with a running back that hasn't played with pads yet.
You're
we
not
know
wrong.
DJ Dallas has played in pads. We know Amir Abdullah has played in pads. So if you're asking me statistically, the percentage for me is much higher for those two guys to get it to the 53 if there's an injury than there is a 24-year-old rookie who was undrafted.
You know you're not wrong. Again, I'm not going to give you this difficult pushback on this because at the end of the day,
he wants to, but he won't.
It could be recency bias. It could simply be, hey, I like shiny. I like new things. It could be as simple as that, and I'm okay acknowledging that potential bias in my thought process because just like the fantasy football community, everybody loves everything that's new.
Sure.
And I'm willing to acknowledge that potential bias on my part. But like if he didn't run a 4.5, 4.6 similar to Hines-Allen this season, he probably doesn't go undrafted because I think his actual skill set, his actual traits and all of that lean me to saying that he's a better running back on tape than what he was being given credit for. But you're not wrong. We haven't seen him in pads. We don't really know what to think from that. I don't think he has any sort of likelihood of taking Hines-Allen's third down role. Unfortunately, that would have been his best route to the roster easily.
No, that's not unfortunate. Hines-Allen stays in the building. That's a good thing.
Hines-Allen is a dog. Hines-Allen is one of my favorite players.
Is absolutely a dog. I mean that from Jamari Taylor's perspective.
Sure,
that's where I'm looking at.
And that's
as somebody who has been a Hines-Allen stan since the draft last year. That's not unfortunate for me. I'm saying.
And you know, we're having all these conversations before preseason, and I get questions on my show all the time about like, what are you looking for in preseason? Like, what you know, people. I love preseason. I'm one of the biggest preseason fans. I love watching preseason for this very reason. That's when you get to see Jamari Taylor, and maybe he's running against guys that are going to get cut. That's okay. Like at least we get to see him with pads. Is he going to fumble? I mean, are you not going to fumble, and are you going to go the right direction? I would say on Wednesday at OTAs, I watched the third team offense. I watched Carter Bradley and some running back. I don't know who it was. They went the wrong direction. They ran play action, and the running back went in the wrong direction. And I turned to my girlfriend and I said, you would get yelled at in high school for that.
Correct.
This is the NFL, and they just moved on to the next play. So can you do that? That's one of the reasons why I love preseason.
Yeah. So unfortunately, man, a lot of these guys, and Jamari included, is their main route to the roster is going to be special teams. Because because I say beating out one of the top two guys as a rusher of the football, but we know that's a ridiculously high bar on most teams. I can't say that that's necessarily this super high bar on this team because of what all the question marks that we do have around Bashaw Tootin not necessarily earning that starting role, just being the first recipient of the opportunity to kind of gain that role because he didn't push Travis Etienne off the roster last year. It's just he's the first guy to get he's the first guy to get the bite of the apple, if that makes sense, to hold on to the role. Chris Rodriguez hasn't necessarily proven that he deserves a starting role in the NFL also. There is opportunity here, and that's the only thing that I'm trying to acknowledge in this conversation, if that makes sense.
What you're forgetting is the 25 snaps that Zach Durfee's going to get from the fullback position where he picks up 1.5 yards.
First of all,
you're right. My bad. You're right. You're right.
Your Hines-Allen turncoating is acknowledged here. Okay, this is way worse than any of your Trevor Lawrence.
No, but what I will say is Jamari Taylor will have a significant opportunity this offseason to show what he can do because you're likely going to have to at least believe that, well, Rodriguez is going to start being a little bit, I won't say he's going to start slow, but they're going to probably start like dipping his toe in the water as far as reps, as far as that piece is concerned. No different than they do most veterans to start the offseason coming off of an injury. So the route is sort of there for him to have an opportunity to muddy things a little bit with Tootin, and everything else. So
maybe I'm misremembering, and you guys can help me. Isn't this the exact same way we were talking about DJ Dallas at this same time last year? Weren't these the same conversations we were having about DJ Dallas looks good in camp? DJ Dallas looks like he could make the 53. DJ Dallas is explosive. These are the same conversations we were having last year.
I got to be honest, Jason. If those conversations were happening, I missed them. I was too distracted about getting hyped by LaQuint-Allen.
Thank you. Thank you. I was out there doing two-piece no biscuit combos, breakdowns on Branson Combs and LaQuint-Allen getting the fist fights. No, I don't remember this at all with DJ Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, he had a strong preseason. He was the talk of the camps, and I mean, this happens this time of year. You find a guy that looks good in underwear, and you project him to be the next 53 starter. And I'm not saying he's not, but I just like to put a little perspective into just me and the way I think. I'm not saying everyone thinks the same way I do, but we do this all the time with players and this time of year. I would caution you in one way, though, in the NFL, Jason. It's probably never a good idea to use the phrase, "This is Dallas's year." Anyways, so that's right. I turned it into a Cowboys show. So I like it. With that in mind, gentlemen, we are past 50 minutes. We've been dancing around this topic. I'm going to ask the question posed point blank earlier. Week 1, I've already said who I think would start. I shouldn't say would start. But I'll let the guests get the last bite of the apple at this question. Travis, who you got?
No, man, you already know who I got. Starter for week 1 of the 2026 NFL season is Jamari Taylor. I'm playing, but I needed to see the reaction.
That was all right. Comedy.
The way you said it with a straight face threw me off. He landed. The way you said it with a straight face threw me off.
It was nice.
Not gonna lie.
It was nice.
I'm going Bayshaw Tootin until you show me something else, man. I don't think there's any choice. They gave him the open runway. It's his job to not to lose it. So at this point, I think that's where we're landing. Yeah, Tootin.
All right, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a loaded question. I mean, I think the obvious answer is Bayshaw Tootin. The better question would be after week 7, who's the starter? I'm looking at the stats from last year.
All right,
I think that's more, but Bayshaw Tootin's going to get the start, the most carries of anyone on this team, barring an injury, and he deserves it. And I think he could make the most of it. I'm excited for it because he leaves people in the dust in minicamp. So if it's not for that alone, he does look explosive. I don't think the problem. I mean, I know we mentioned breaking tackles. I don't think the problem is going to be like breaking tackles as so much as if the gaps are there from the O-line. And because he can hit the hole quick, he can hit the edge quick. I'm not worried about that. Holding on to the football. Hitting the right gap, making the right read, being patient to seeing where the gap is, and then hitting the gap with explosiveness is more than any skill set a running back could have. We know that from watching football long enough.
You mentioned holding on to the ball. That's a very important trait that I forgot. We haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I think Chris Rodriguez and LaQuint-Allen will have their roles, and they will be integral parts of the offense. And I think this coaching staff doesn't look at it as who's the starter. I think they look at it as like what we're trying to do and who we want in the backfield. And when Zach Durfee's name is called, he will be ready and he will be there to blow open the end zone at the 1 yard line for a touchdown. So,
the end zone.
Your LaQuint-Allen disrespect is noted. Okay,
I love LaQuint-Allen. He's one of my favorite players. Anyone that'll fight somebody is immediately one of my favorite players. Immediately,
anybody who will fight somebody.
Yes, on the NFL football field, absolutely.
Do you watch hockey? No,
I love hockey.
That fits.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, so we know what time it is, man. Establishing the run. That's what we're talking about. But Kyle, did you give them your prediction?
I said it early on. If Myles Garrett were playing, the answer would have been Bayshaw Tootin. Since he's not in Cleveland anymore, I think they start C-Rod.
Oh, you were to think of starting or C-Rod gets snap 1, play 1 in the game. Okay.
I think they attack between the tackles in the first series, especially after all the trouble they've made to build up the inside and the run game in general.
Okay.
I said what I said,
Okay.
I think Travis's analogy of what Liam Coen did in Tampa was spot on. With the 2 backs he did in Tampa, I think that's what he's trying to do now with Tootin and Rodriguez. And I think that's what he's going to try to do.
Fair enough. Well, but Irving didn't come on till later in the year. I mean, that's worth mentioning too. So,
well, it was the injuries. Exactly, the injuries throw everything off, and that's going to happen in the NFL.
Correct.
So,
it's going to happen in any football league. What are you talking about?
So true.
Gentlemen, with that in mind, we had a fun exploration of the Jags' offensive backfield. The Jaguar United us all. This member of the Duval Dive is always welcome here on the Dive. Jason, tell the world where you could be found, my guy.
Yeah, I'm on Jaguars United, YouTube. The shows are kind of few and far between and kind of spotty, but that's what happens when it's not your full-time job, and when it's a hobby, and we love doing it. And all I can say is thank you guys. I love talking to you guys. I love talking shop with people that know what they're talking about. So that's why I always accept any invitation to come on the Duval Dive and talk with you all.
My guy.
Fair enough. No, it was a good time. There you go. The victory.
That is.
Stone salute.
That is.
There it is.
Oh, man. You guys already know. Yes. And Travis D. Holmes, BigCatCountry.com, the Duval Dive, click like on the X, on the, follow us on the audio side, rate and review us, help us out there. Again, it helps us somehow. I don't know how this thing works. I know how numbers work. I don't know how algorithms work, but apparently if you click like, it pays us. So please click like. We appreciate that very much, man. But yeah, we're talking football on the socials, Duval Dive on TikTok, Duval Dive on X. And if you don't read, I don't care. Please just click the articles. Anything you see from BigCatCountry.com, click it. Help support local journalism, support your guys on the ground, and PT Phone Home Preston's words. Have your local librarian read Travis's latest Big Cat Country article if you cannot read. We appreciate that, man, so much. That's gonna get all the airtime. But please let the folks know where you can be found, Mr. Kyle.
First of all, the Run the Damn Ball hat, and granted, this is going to be useless for all the podcast listeners, but yeah, go to the YouTube channel. The Run the Damn Ball hat, is that? Do I call that ours? Like,
that is from the Duval Dive store. Yes, so please go and check that out. The links are already in the links in the description on YouTube or on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get the audio podcast from. Yeah, we have lots of stuff: shirts, hats, everything else that's been on the site. I just keep forgetting to tell people that it exists. So thank you, Kyle, for letting the folks know.
Hey man, listen, you have something with Run the Damn Ball on it. Offensive linemen get excited, including Orlando Storm Center Cole Schneider, who was on the Storm Surge podcast a few weeks back. Boom. How about that? Me and BP talking to him to entertain the Stormtroopers there too. They may be eliminated, but the Storm Surge will be participating in coverage of the United Bowl. I see you dig the Stormtrooper moniker. So does everybody else. I'm just going to throw it out there.
I like the Stormtrooper. I like that. I may be a Stormtrooper just because of the name. I'm not.
There you go. Here's the thing. You don't miss as often as a Stormtrooper does in Star Wars.
That's right. I'm accurate.
So with all that being said, you can also check out my work covering UCF with my writings on UCF Night Zone, as well as my work on Locked On UCF, plus my coverage of the Orlando Magic when they're playing. They're not right now, but details. We'll see what Sweeney does as a head coach sooner than later. So for the incomparable Jason Trent of Jaguars United, for my personal champion Travis E. Holmes, and all you divers who keep this thing swimming, this is Kyle Nash, student of the game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.